Hello, and welcome back to Mass Effect. I wasn't really happy with my commentary on Noveria. I wasn't able to really focus because of all the, Rachni and all that. And my critiques ended up coming out to basically a lot of, this planet sucks. That wasn't what I wanted to get across. So I wanted to collect my thoughts, in a free-form manner, and talk about what I think Noveria did right, what I think it did wrong, and how it could have been improved. For starters, what I think it did wrong. Noveria is way too long. It's about 2 to 3 times the length of any other planet in the game. The only things that might be longer are the DLC. Maybe? I don't know. I've never actually played those, at least not that I can remember. So, what I think it should have done to fix that, either A, completely cut out the first act, where you dock at the station and you gotta go through the whole rigmarole of just getting to the Mako section to go to the facility. Or, I might be in the minority about this, and this may sound weird considering how much complaining I had for the opening section. Cut out the facility itself. Instead, make it more of a not really a political drama, I guess, like a business drama of trying to deal with the. Well, I guess it would be business and political. Trying to deal with the. Trying to deal with getting around all the various the various political factions within the companies that own the station, so that you can get straight to Benezia. Basically, cut out the entire station, and not the station, the facility, and just have like the end part with Benezia and the Rachni. That would probably be a little hard of a sell, I guess, just because it would be very, very combat light. But all the other planets are extremely combat heavy, so it might have been a nice change of pace. And we'll see in Mass Effect 2 that they actually can pull that off quite well, while still having a decent amount of combat, of course. Now, what I think it did right, the setting itself is wonderful. It's very reminiscent of H.P. Lovecraft's The Mountains of Madness. This isolated, frozen hellscape in a facility where you come in late and find that basically most everyone there has been slaughtered by these horrific and very aquatic, aquatic-esque creatures. And you have to piece it together based on what you find from the very stressed and many insane survivors. Especially in like this very claustrophobic area where you don't really have anywhere to go. It's not perfect because if you wanted, you could just backtrack straight to the Mako and just drive back if you hate yourself, I guess. What else I think it did right? The Rachni are a really cool addition. Maybe a little ham-fisted, I guess, because, well, this being the first game, this is where you learn about the Rachni have been extinct for like 1,000 years or whatever. So, I guess that was a little iffy, but I did like the way they brought them in. It very much reminds me of the movie Alien, like the Aliens franchise. And in Mass Effect 3, we'll see that, the developers realize that too. Better or worse. Matriarch Benezia. Another thing that I felt they did rather well, except for one problem. Her whole explanation about indoctrination and how it's really not very clear. They kind of could have cut that out entirely, because we'll actually get a way better explanation fairly soon. And by way better, I mean directly from the source. I'm not going to spoil it in case you somehow aren't familiar already. But suffice to say, we'll learn everything we need to in due time. Let's see. One sec. I'm gonna collect my thoughts. Okay, got another criticism. The inclusion of the Geth here. I get that the Geth are working for Saren, and by extension, they're working with Venezia. But I feel that they kind of detracted from they kind of detracted from Noveria. It was all right on the drive there, them being sort of like I guess guards, for lack of a better term. But I feel that they would have been better served replacing them either with Asari commandos, or just having it be the like the section where you fight through a bunch of Geth and then the Rachni attack. Remove the Geth and just have you walk into the room with torn apart Geth bodies everywhere. Just like devastation in that room. And then like maybe extra 3 or 4 Rachni. That they just like attack you from all sides. I think that would have been a lot more intimidating and really hammer home just how like potent and deadly the Rachni are. That the Geth, who, as you see in Eden Prime, can just lay waste to some of the best humanity has to offer, and they got torn apart without killing even a single Rachni. I think that would have helped get through that these giant fucking poison crawfish are badass without needing to just have them illustrate that purely through gameplay with them ignoring your shields. Yeah, I'm still kind of salty about that. Let's see. Gonna pause again because I didn't collect my thoughts very well. Now, did I? I'm not very good at this. Yes, I remember what I was going to talk about now. Another criticism. I kind of complimented the survivors thing earlier, but I'm turning on that now. I feel there were too many. I think they'd cut it down to like 5, maybe 6 people. The captain, 1 or 2 other soldiers, the psycho Asari who ambushes you, and of course Han, the crazy bolus. I think that would have been a lot better to again illustrate the danger of the Rachni, while also like I said, it would illustrate the danger of the Rachni and also give you a lot less of that human element. You wouldn't have the psychological safety of having a room you could retreat back to that has a bunch of people there. I know that you really don't have the option to retreat anyway, just because Noveria is so linear, but even still. And another thing I remembered about the Rachni, I think it would have been good if I think the way that the files work is that each enemy has like the reason that their name pops up is that they're all just different instances of the same enemy file. I think what would have been nice is if they made a copy of the Rachni and took the Rachni part out, where they just put it as like question marks, or like abomination or something like that, and so that like when you're looking at a Rachni, it doesn't say Rachni worker or Rachni soldier or whatever. It says like hellish abomination or monstrosity or something like that. Where like because you're not supposed to know what it is. The problem is if you've been reading the codex, which I know we haven't actually done that. I'm probably not going to do it until the end of the game when I have like all of them, and then just binge through them. But if you had been reading the codex, you would already know what a Rachni is. The mystery of it kind of hinges on you not reading things in an RPG. Yeah, maybe not the best idea. Okay, I got one more complaint that I can really formulate. The Mira section, and needing to turn the station back on. It is simultaneously too easy and too hard. Because of, like, why are the Geth hanging out in this massive cluster at this cut fuel line? And if they really wanted you to not be able to get through, why not just blow up the system? Or here's an idea, the button that you can press to just fix the fuel line, why don't you break that? It would make sense if that room was full of Rachni instead of Geth. And, like, for the only one of those 3 sections that you have to do that is actually good is the one where you head up to the roof, and there's a fuck ton of Rachni there that you have to butcher your way through to reset them, to reset the antenna. And of course, that you have the option to just... Oh, wait, that puzzle was just to turn Mira on so that she could repeatedly tell you, over and over and maddeningly over again, that the tram doesn't work. That'd be another one. Tell Mira to shut the hell up. Oy. So yeah. Just about the only things I can think of to make that section better, like I said, remove the Geth, replace them with Rachni. The Rachni would still have a reason to cut the line because they're insane and just, like, attacking everything. And 2, shut Mira the fuck up. Or 3 being, like, the first 2 are, do both of those, 3rd is by itself, just skip that entire section. Like, cut it completely, because it is terrible. Or at the very least, take the elevator out. Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 elevators there. There's so many elevators. Like, I get that you need loading screens. But I think even with it being made for then modern hardware of 2006, 2007, yeah, 2007, I think the 360 can handle a couple decent-sized rooms without needing a full loading screen. And if they can't, make the rooms smaller. Especially at the station, with that big, empty, like lobby area where it takes like 30 seconds to get from the elevator in down to the guy that you need to talk to, so that you can trigger the other guy to be willing to talk to you, so you can go up his elevator. That elevator I'm okay with, because that's actually separating, like, a hub area from a combat section. That one's fine. But needing the elevator down from already an empty area, a very small one at that, and then needing to go through this giant room to get to other smaller rooms to do basically nothing. And then when you actually get to the facility, and there's just one elevator after another. And you get the Mira section, you can't even claim that's cutting off different combat sections from a hub, because the hub is a combat section too. Ugh. So yeah, I think that whole part there should have just been skipped, and like not have the tram section, like the area that would have been the connecting point, like the mirror room that connects to the tram station. Either just remove the mirror room and put the tram station there, or put the room that the tram station goes to there, and just cut the tram entirely. It's just not necessary. But the tram one I can actually understand, because again, that's separating 2 decent-sized areas, if they weren't full of elevators separating them at least, so that you can have two different maps load in. But it can't have been that hard, because Mass Effect 2, which came out like a year, 2 years later, did that. There's like no elevators in Mass Effect 2. I think there's like 3 in total. And Mass Effect 3, I think, only had 1, and it was there as a joke. So, anyway, yeah, that's my somewhat collected critique of Noveria. While I think Noveria is very frustrating, I don't think it's necessarily terrible. The worst part about it is wasted potential. Sorry, I thought I heard a phone ring, and I don't know why. Anyway, so, that's the end of my critique. Next time, we'll get on to talking to the crew, and then we are off to... probably Pharaohs. Probably. See you then.